Advanced English Arabic Learning Phrasal Verbs, Session 16. I've been scraping along on temporary work since I lost my job. I thought I was going to fail, but scraped by with 51%. The government scraped in with 51% of the votes cast. She got mediocre grades and just scraped into university. I did no revision and only just scraped through the final exams. I had to search my flat for money to scrape together what I needed. It took me ages to scrape up the money for the tickets. The door staff sized up everyone entering the club. Soft drinks manufacturers have sized up their products. An area had been screened off as a waiting room. Applicants without the right qualifications were screened out. The sun cream screens out UV light. A cat came into the back garden, but the dog soon saw it off. The dogs saw them off in no time. I went to the station to see them off. We feared the roof would not see out another harsh winter. He did not see the project out, as he died in the following year. My colleague will see you out. Are you sure you're going? I'll get your coats and see you out. My family saw me through that very tough first year. I'm determined to see through my degree and keep my career options open. He can see through her lies and deceptions. The police quickly saw through her disguise and arrested her. He saw to the arrangements and everything ran smoothly and efficiently. He used to see to all the music and the arrangements. Things are shaping up at work, everything's going well again. If they don't start shaping up, they're going to lose their jobs. They sold off their research subsidiary. She sold off her furniture before she emigrated. He tried to sell them on the project. We managed to sell him on the expansion plans. We buy them wholesale and sell them on to the public. The tickets sold out in a couple of hours. They were forced to sell out at a ruinous loss. Tickets for these spooky goings-on sell out quickly. They had nearly sold out of the initial run of 75,000 copies. It was clear that the performances would not sell out. Most bands sell out when they sign to a major record label. I've decided to sell out and go and live in the country. We want to sell up and move to the country. They are negotiating to sell up for around £60 million. He has shaved off his mustache and looks much younger. Professional male swimmers shave off their body hair. He shaved a few thousand off the budget for the year. She shaved 0.5 seconds off the British junior record. The police were sent in to quell the riot. If you want to enter the competition, you have to send in for an entry form. The football striker was sent off for arguing with the referee's decision. The goalkeeper was sent off for a foul. Please take a moment or two to send off a check to a good cause. I must send this letter off today. I sent off for some jeans that I liked in the catalog. They sent out a mail shot to all their existing customers. We couldn't be bothered to cook, so we sent out for a pizza. We used to send him up something rotten. He sends the Prime Minister up brilliantly. He was sent up for arson. The erupting volcano sent up huge plumes of steam. The mischievous schoolboy was sending the teacher up. I had to shell out £100 on the dinner, pony up. We set about the cleaning and got it done before lunchtime. The gang set about her as she left the bank. The quality of their work sets them apart from their rivals. The appeal court set aside the guilty verdict. The car repairs set me back £800. The accident set the project back several months. He set forth his ideas in his autobiography. We set forth at daybreak for the summit of the mountain. Winter has set in, it started snowing. Terrorists set off a car bomb in the city center. The smoke set the fire alarm off. We set off for work at 7:30. The company set off its overseas debts against its profits at home. The pay freeze set off a wave of strikes. He and his friends were set on by a gang. He was set on when he left the bar. They set upon her when she was in the car park. I was asked to leave and threatened with having dogs set upon me. The figures are set out in the Council's annual report. We set out from New York on Friday for Egypt. She drew up a plan of what her organization should set out to achieve. This chapter sets out the debate surrounding pluralism. The explorers set out for the South Pole yesterday morning, set off. The contract sets out all the details of the agreement. If we all set to, we should be able to finish this in a few hours. She set up the business with a £4,000 bank loan. He asked if I would like him to set up a meeting with the president. His father set him up in business. Todd tried to set her up with one of his friends. The technician set up the computer network perfectly. They set up a .com company. Winning the lottery set them up for life. Suppose she had set him up for the murder? Listen. He didn't die. It was a setup. A colony of monkeys had set up a racket in the canopy. The police set them up. The government denied that they had sexed up the report. After years of partying and drinking, she finally got married and settled down. Catherine settled down to her studies. After a few months the controversy settled down. One day I will settle down and raise a family. In 2000 the family settled in London. It took him a while to settle in when he moved to Japan. She allowed him to settle her in the taxi. He had settled into his new job. It was too cold for champagne, so they settled for a cup of tea. We had to settle for the second prize. She settled her bag on her shoulder. They couldn't agree at first on a name for their daughter, but finally settled on Alma. His bill was settled by charge card. Let's settle up for the dinner the other night. They shacked up a few months after they started going out. We had to shack up with friends while our house was being decorated. They won't believe I've shacked up with someone so good looking. She shaded in the outline of a chimney. She shaded in the area under the tree. It was disruptive to the industry as it was shaking down after deregulation. They shook him down for a $40,000 bribe. A brisk wind this morning has shaken down masses of leaves. It took me ages to shake off the cough. She has shaken off a virus. He thought he had shaken off his pursuer. He had to shake himself out of his lethargy. He shook out the newspaper, straighten out. We'll see what shakes out. He shook out a handful of painkillers. We are going to shake out the old attitudes, phase out. He took the tablecloth outside and shook it out after dinner. The news of her death really shook me up. He presented plans to shake up the legal profession. The fall shook him up quite badly. He had to do something to shake the team up. We lacked spark. They are shaking things up and getting rid of a lot of workers. Pour the ingredients into a container and shake them up. He was causing a lot of trouble, so they shipped him off to another branch. We shipped the order out 2 days ago. If you've finished your work, I'm ready to ship out. He shot away as soon as the bell rang for the end of the lesson. I'm shooting back home to pick up some things, double back. I'm shooting for nothing less than the presidency. You're shooting for a chance of fame and wealth. I'll have to shoot off as soon as the lesson finishes, leave promptly. I'm shooting out to the shops for a paper, going out, popping out, nipping out. The share prices have been shooting up lately. The heroin user would shoot up in shop doorways. The gangsters shot up the pub. Johnny has shot up since I last saw him. If you shop around, you can find some real bargains for air tickets. The battery shorted out when it got wet. His efforts to raise the issue were shouted down. She shouted out my name. The estate agent showed us around the house. The secretary showed me in to speak to the manager. Her jeans were tight-fitting, showing off her compact figure. The children were showing off and irritated me. He wanted to show off his new sound system. He was showing off, trying to make a really big impression. The shirt really showed off his new tie. Her secretary showed me out after the interview. He showed us over the scene of the accident. The guide showed them round the historic part of the city. His anger showed through despite his smile. This liquid shows up on the X-ray. A rising moon showed up the wild seascape. It's a pity they haven't showed up the authorities for what they are. Very few showed up at the meeting, turned up. The downturn in sales showed up in the company's accounts. She says I showed her up in front of her friends. You talked the talk but he walked the walk, he totally showed you up. He showed me up by snoring during the concert. He showed us up when he arrived drunk and started arguing. The end. Coming next. Session 17.